Earlier this week, I was listening to some messages from one of my favorite preachers from about 12 years ago. Scott Federoff was one of the greatest guys I've ever had the privilege of knowing personally. And he absolutely loved his wife, Brenda. And in this message, he was talking, it was just kind of a side tangent that he said something about how in heaven and that, you know, Bible teaches, and it's in Matthew 22, that, you won't really be married or given in marriage in heaven, but, and he was saying, okay, so maybe if I can't be married to Brenda, I'm just going to make sure that I have a condo right next to her so I can keep tabs on her and see what's going on or something. And just joking, because that's what he was like. But Scott unexpectedly died a few years after that. And years later, Brenda actually remarried another awesome guy. And that whole idea of marriage in heaven suddenly took on a new light listening to that old message and hearing that comment like in the context of what I know the future ended up being. Because this whole thing, it has bothered me for a long time, the idea that Jesus plainly said, oh, well, in heaven they won't really be married like you understand marriage. Because, frankly, I love my wife, and I don't want to stop being married to her. Like, I want to stay with her forever. But take Scott and Brenda's scenario, that, like, Brenda is now married to another guy, his name's Chuck, and so if marriage continued, then when they all get to heaven, like, either Scott or Chuck basically gets screwed over because Brenda can't be both of their wives. And so it's like, it actually makes sense that marriage is, a lifelong covenant, but not an eternal thing. And it becomes this weird thing of like, what is marriage for? Like, why do we have marriage? And I think that's something that the church has really kind of dropped the ball on, because we never really talk about the purpose of marriage and what it means. Lately, in recent years, we get all up in arms trying to define what marriage is, and it's one man, one woman, and these whole kind of things, and we're on the wrong soapbox, basically. But marriage exists, marriage was created for the purpose of, establishing what these relationships are supposed to be like. It's supposed to be the model for the ideal relationship. It's Genesis 1 is actually teaching us that marriage, that it's a husband and a wife, that's the actual image of God. It's only that connection, that unity, and in the absolute perfect state that was described as him naked and unashamed, which means a whole lot more than, not wearing Levi's. There's just this perfect, unfiltered, unbroken connection between them, but they are still two separate people, and that is what really reflects the image of God, because Genesis told us that he created male and female in God's image, and it's the unity, it's that togetherness that is the image of God. And that's why, as marriage has been so watered down throughout culture, and we make it so trivial, and it's like, oh, you can get married by an Elvis impersonator and then get that annulled 2 days later, and it's like, we don't care about marriage. And so the image of God has become very distorted for us. But it's this thing that was the image of God that is it's like the definition of, genuine love. That was, that's the foundation for the right environment for raising a family, which is the backbone of a society. And all of these things have been lost. And if you really look into it and study even modern sociology, they're trying so hard to find something else that works, and nothing else like makes a productive and a flourishing society like a strong marriage, as the foundation for a strong family. That is where, productive citizens come from. That's how society works best, is when marriage and family are the foundational elements. And so marriage serves this purpose. And it's just, it kind of makes sense if you put it in that light, that in heaven, like, that purpose isn't really needed, because in heaven, society works like it ought to. And every connection, every human relationship will be as pure as, what marriage is designed to be now. And so I can kind of see it. I'm still not totally cool with the idea that I don't get to be married to Dee Dee anymore, but like I it kind of makes more sense to me, and suddenly just seeing it in the context of, this marriage that I got to witness, and recognizing, oh, well, that can't continue, is just kind of opened my eyes to something new, and it just wanted to take you on the thought process with me.